A few months ago, I had this strange experience while working as a delivery driver. I've made countless late-night trips down rural roads, familiar with every twist and turn. Most nights felt normal, but not that one. I was 35, used to the shadows from the flickering streetlights casting odd shapes on the cracked asphalt. Out of nowhere, I spotted a woman on the side of the road. She wore a tattered dress, hair hanging limply over her face. I almost drove past, but something tugged at me. I stopped. She didn't say a word as she climbed into the back seat. I felt uneasy right then. I kept glancing at her in the rearview mirror. She sat there, staring at something invisible. A chill shot down my spine. It was just the night air, I thought. But I wasn't sure. I dropped her off at a diner, and for a moment, I thought it was just my tired mind playing tricks. It's easy to get scared when you work those hours. But then, it happened again. A few nights later, I saw a boy by the road. He looked dirty and had mud on his cheeks. He seemed harmless, so I pulled over. He sat in the passenger seat and started mumbling these weird song lyrics. They were old tunes I'd never heard before. I tried to make small talk, but he just kept singing, eyes glazed over. I felt my heart race every time I glanced at him. It was like he wasn't really there. I dropped him off at the next gas station. I was relieved, but that feeling of unease lingered. The next time, I was driving through heavy fog. It felt like a scene from a horror movie. I spotted an older man standing by a tree. His clothes were worn out. I thought maybe he needed help. I pulled over, thinking he might just need a ride. He climbed into the back without a word. I looked at him in the mirror. He stared out the window, as if lost in thought. After a while, he whispered something. It sounded like old secrets from the town. I couldn't make sense of it. My hands gripped the steering wheel tighter. I felt a cold sweat on my back. Turning to say something, I met his gaze. He was staring right through me, like I wasn't even there. "Why do you drive here?" he asked suddenly. My stomach dropped. I opened my mouth, but no words came out. I didn't know the answer. I felt trapped, tension thick in the air. I dropped him off quickly, heart pounding. I still drive that road every week, expecting answers. I can't shake the feeling something is off. Did I share my car with the lost? Was it all in my imagination? Those nights haunt me. The line between real and imagined keeps blurring, and I wonder if I'll ever find out what those encounters really meant. The next few weeks were a blur of unease. I tried to brush off the encounters, but each night drive felt heavier than the last. It was like the road was calling out to me with a sinister charm. I couldn't just ignore what had happened. The memories played on repeat in my mind, gnawing at my sanity. One night, I took a different route. I thought a change of scenery might help. I drove through a narrow road lined with trees, the moonlight barely breaking through the branches. But the same tight feeling settled in my chest. It felt like I was being watched, even in the solitude of the night. As I rounded a bend, I saw a flicker of light in the distance. Curiosity got the better of me, and I veered towards it. I parked beside an old barn that looked abandoned. The door hung off its hinges, and shadows danced inside. I stepped out, heart racing, feeling the chill of the evening air. That's when I noticed something on the ground. It looked like a child's toy, an old, tattered teddy bear, half buried in the dirt. Confused, I reached down to pick it up. As soon as my fingers touched it, I heard laughter. Bright, innocent laughter that echoed in the silence of the night. My heart raced. It reminded me of the boy I had picked up weeks ago, the one who sang those strange songs. "No way," I whispered to myself, glancing around. The laughter stopped abruptly. A knot tightened in my stomach. I dropped the bear, stepping back. Something was off, and it was more than just the eerie silence that filled the air. I turned to leave, but then I heard it again, a voice, soft and whispery. "Help me." I froze. It was coming from inside the barn. The voice sounded like a girl. Panic surged through me. I knew I shouldn't go inside, but I felt drawn in, a strange pull. I took a cautious step forward. The barn creaked ominously as I pushed the door gently. It swung open with a loud groan, revealing darkness. My heart pounded as I called out, "Is anyone there?" My voice echoed back into the void. There was no response, but I could still feel something watching me. I was certain of it. Just then, my phone buzzed in my pocket. I fished it out, relief washing over me. But it wasn't a message or a call, it was a notification of news about the area. A missing persons report caught my eye. A girl, last seen around this part of the woods. I felt a chill creep down my spine as I read her name. It was the same name that had slipped through the lips of the last hitchhiker. I dropped my phone, heart racing. This wasn't just about me anymore. Before I could think, I heard footsteps behind me. My breath hitched as I turned quickly. The barn door slammed shut, plunging me into darkness. I felt my way back, panic rising. I had to get out. But defeat weighed heavy, and dread wrapped around my lungs. Then everything went black. I woke to a sharp, blinding light hitting my face. I squinted, trying to make sense of my surroundings. It took a moment for my eyes to adjust. I was lying on the barn floor, scattered hay poking at my skin. My heart raced as I scrambled to sit up. The door was now wide open. How had it opened? I glanced around. The shadows clung to the corners, but the laughter had vanished. I was alone, or so I thought. Then I heard it again. A soft, haunted whisper. "Help me." My skin crawled. I wasn't imagining it. I could feel the chill of fear creeping up my spine. It was coming from the loft above me. I stood up, heart pounding, and looked upward. The old wooden stairs creaked under my weight as I decided to climb. "Hello." I called out, my voice trembling. The whisper stopped, and for a moment, I felt hopeful. Maybe I was just hearing things. But then it returned, stronger this time. "Help me." I wanted to run, to get out of the barn and never look back. But something held my feet to the floor. I took a deep breath and wiped my palms on my jeans. My legs felt like lead as I climbed higher. As I reached the top, the musty air was thick. The loft was cluttered with old tools, discarded things that looked forgotten. In the dim light, I scanned the space. "Is anyone there?" I shouted again, trying to sound braver than I felt. That's when I saw a small figure huddled in the corner, almost swallowed by the darkness. My heart raced as I took a cautious step forward. The figure stirred, and I could see long, tangled hair hanging down over her face. "Please," she said, her voice breaking. "Help me." I blinked in disbelief. She looked just like the girl from the missing persons report. My throat tightened. "What happened to you?" "I can't leave," she whispered, reaching out a hand. "Please, help me." But just then, a sudden crashing sound echoed from below, and the barn shook. I stumbled backward, nearly losing my balance. Fear screamed in my head. I had to get out of there. But as I turned to flee, the girl's voice stopped me cold. "Don't leave me." I hesitated, torn. I glanced back, and my breath caught in my throat. She wasn't in the corner anymore. The space was empty, the shadows thickening where she had just been. Panic surged anew. I ran down the stairs, every instinct telling me to escape. Just as I reached the bottom, the barn door slammed shut behind me again, trapping me inside. My heart raced, the darkness pressing in. Then I heard the footsteps. Someone was in the barn with me. I spun around, straining to see anything through the inky blackness. Who is there? My voice trembled as I forced the words out. No reply, just the sound of breathing. I was not alone. Gripped by fear, I backed toward the door. But then something heavy crashed down, and I knew I wouldn't escape that easily. I was about to find out who or what was in the shadows with me. The silence felt deafening, broken only by the rasping breath somewhere in the dark. There was a feeling of being watched, the tension in the air thick enough to choke on. I pressed my back against the barn wall, heart hammering in my chest, desperately trying to keep my breathing steady. Anxious thoughts raced through my mind. I had to figure out what was going on. But all I could see were shadows moving, flickering like candles in a gust of wind. I steeled myself, ready to confront whatever haunted this place. Show yourself. I shouted, my voice wavering but firm. No answer. Just the chilling sound of footsteps shifting in the hay. I took a cautious step forward, my eyes trying to adjust to the gloom. A flicker of movement caught my attention, a silhouette darting behind a stack of old crates. My pulse quickened, and without thinking, I lunged toward it. Wait! I called out, more desperate now. Please, I'm not here to hurt you. The figure paused, then vanished into the dark. I groaned, frustration clawing at me. Why are you hiding? I said, my voice trembling. What do you want? Suddenly, the past crept in the girl, the missing persons report, all the unanswered questions. The barn was suffocating, thick with dread. I couldn't shake the feeling that whatever was happening tied back to her. Then, just as I was gripping the edge of one of the crates, the lights flickered. For a moment, everything brightened. My breath caught. That's when I saw it, a mirror hanging crookedly on the wall, reflecting an image behind me. I spun around, heart racing, but nothing was there. Just the empty barn and shadows that seemed to dance tauntingly. I turned back to the mirror and gasped. The reflection was not my own, it was the girl from the loft. She stood there, her eyes wide and pleading. Help me, she mouthed silently, her face twisted in pain. I stepped closer, drawn in by her desperate gaze. What did she want from me? Before I could think further, the sound of footsteps echoed behind me again. This time the noise was louder, closer. I swung around, my anxiety spiking. The air grew colder, and I could see my breath in front of me. Who is there? I shouted again, this time more a plea than a demand. Then I heard it. A low, rumbling laugh, a sound that sent chills down my spine. You shouldn't be here, it rasped, echoing through the barn as if coming from every corner at once. I fought back instinctive terror and darted toward the door. Grabbing the handle, I yanked it hard, but it wouldn't budge. It felt as if an invisible force held it shut. Panic bubbled inside me. I needed to break free. In that moment, the barn felt alive, and the shadows began to swirl. I turned back to the mirror, desperate for answers. But the girl was gone. Instead, I saw a darker figure overshadowing mine, a smirk spreading across its sinister face. Then everything went dark. The lights flickered again, and I felt the chilling grasp of cold fingers closing around my wrist. Don't leave, it whispered from the shadows. My heart sank as I realized I was not just trapped but caught in something much worse. I struggled against the grip, my mind racing. I twisted my wrist, but the cold fingers held tight. They felt ancient and twisted, a stark contrast to my warmth. I stammered, let me go. Each plea sent an echo into the darkness, but there was no answer, just the soft, sickening sound of laughter, low and menacing. In an instinctive panic, I jerked my body away from the unseen force, desperately throwing myself against the barn door again. I slammed my shoulder into it, adrenaline surging. To my surprise, the door creaked open slightly, just enough for me to slip through if I could muster the courage to break free. But as if fueled by my thoughts, the shadows morphed into something more solid. The dark figure emerged, a shape cloaked in despair, a silhouette molded by the tension in the air. It stepped into the dim light as I edged back, my foot slipping on the hay. I stumbled, bracing myself against the old wooden beams. "Stay," it rasped, and for a moment, I thought I saw a glimmer of that girl's pleading eyes reflected in its own, sharp and hungry. "You need to hear me." Everything inside me screamed to run. The urgency of the moment gripped my heart, but I hesitated, torn between fear and curiosity. "What do you want?" I asked, the words tumbling from my lips. "Who are you?" It laughed again, but this time it was softer, almost pitying. "This place holds your answers, but you must face the truth." Its voice seemed to resonate through the barn, and the shadows pulsated around it, as if alive. "Truth?" I spat, my anger boiling over. "All I see is a monster." "Is that what you are, a trickster, playing games with my mind?" "Not a game," it whispered. "A choice." Just then, the barn flickered back to life. The lights hummed, and the air felt thick with a possibility I didn't understand. The walls whispered old, forgotten secrets in a language I couldn't grasp. My mind was racing. The girl's face flashed through my thoughts again, her silent scream echoing there. I just want to help her." I managed to choke out, the urgency mingling with fear. "She's in trouble." "And so are you," the figure countered smoothly, stepping closer. "Help her, or help yourself. One choice leads to freedom, the other to despair. Choose wisely." The weight of it nearly crushed me. I was pulled by the girl I barely knew and the creeping grasp of whatever this was. I looked back toward the flickering mirror, hoping for a sign, something to guide me. The shadows shifted again, and I caught another glimpse of the girl's reflection. This time, she mouthed a different word: "Run." Before I could process, the dark figure lunged forward, and the barn trembled. The air electrified, buzzing with a danger that sent jolts of fear through my body. I couldn't hesitate anymore. I bolted for the door, feeling the shadows clawing at my back. Just as I reached the threshold, a scream cut through the air, not my own, but hers. The barn groaned and twisted, and I leaped out into the cool night, lungs burning with the speed of my escape. But as I turned to look back, the barn vanished behind me, swallowed by the darkness. I stumbled backward, panic swallowing me as I realized I hadn't just left something behind. I had abandoned the very truth I sought. And then, in the distance, I heard her voice, a whisper carried by the wind. "You'll be back." I stumbled down the dirt road, my heart racing. I tried to shake the chill that gripped me, but every shadow seemed to twist and coil like the figure I just escaped. I needed to focus, to think. The moon hung high, casting an eerie glow that barely penetrated the trees lining the path ahead. Taking deep breaths, I walked faster. I had just made a life-changing decision, and now I needed a place to gather my thoughts. The air felt thick. A strange stillness enveloped me, as if the world was holding its breath. Suddenly, I heard a rustling behind me. I turned, wary, but only saw branches swaying in the wind. My mind raced. Was it just a trick of the night? I pressed on, convincing myself that I was alone. After what felt like an eternity, I reached a fork in the road. The left path veered toward a cluster of trees, while the right led to a small bridge over a creek. Something urged me toward the bridge, a feeling I couldn't quite place. I took it slowly, the wooden boards groaning under my weight. Midway across, I stopped. The moonlight reflected off the water below, creating shapes that danced like illusions. That's when I noticed her. Sitting on the edge of the bridge, feet dangling, was a girl. I blinked, unsure if my mind was playing tricks again. Her hair flowed like waves, and she appeared utterly still. "Hey," I called, my voice barely rising above the sound of rushing water. "Are you okay?" She turned, a slow motion that felt deliberate. Her eyes were wide, but not with fear. There was a strange serenity about her, as if she were waiting for something. "Help me cross," she said simply, direct and calm. "Cross?" I repeated, confused. Are you stuck? I've been waiting for someone, she said, her voice monotone. It's time to go. Panic surged through me. The shadows of the barn loomed large in my memory, and the girl's face flickered in my mind again. I can't, I stammered, stepping back. I just escaped. She tilted her head, the shadows shifting with her movement. You can't escape from what you don't understand. This road will lead you back. I took another step back, my heart pounding. You're not real, I said frantically, eyes darting around for a way out. But before I could react, she reached her hand out, and in that moment, I felt a strange pull, a draw toward her. I shook my head, fighting the urge. No. I'm not going with you. You will, she whispered, but her voice faded, replaced by a sudden rush of wind that knocked me off balance. That's when I noticed a figure emerging from the tree-line. It was the dark shape from the barn, transformed and more menacing in the open air. The girl vanished, leaving me alone once again. A wave of dread crashed over me, and the figure glided toward me, every step dripping malice. I stumbled back to the edge of the bridge, looking for a way out. What do you want? I shouted, voice cracking. Your choice, it hissed, each word a dark promise. The ground beneath me trembled, and I spun to face the rushing creek. In that moment, I spotted something glinting beneath the surface. My instincts kicked and I couldn't let the shadows pull me into their abyss. With a leap, I dove off the bridge, plunging into the icy water below. As I sank, I searched for the glint, not knowing if it could save me or just drag me deeper. Then everything went dark. My body hit the water, sending a shock through my entire system. Cold enveloped me, squeezing the breath from my lungs. I kicked, struggling to push myself back towards the surface. Instinct took over, and I fought against the current, clawing my way upward. Finally breaking free, I gasped as my head broke the surface. The moonlight spilled across the creek, granting me a moment's clarity. I paddled frantically toward the bank, where the water spilled into a muddy shore dotted with grass and fallen branches. When my feet finally found solid ground, I staggered, collapsing onto the bank, panting as I caught my breath. The shadows on the bridge faded behind me, but that didn't ease the tension coiling in my chest. I looked back, half expecting the figure to emerge again, but the only sounds were the distant calls of night creatures echoing through the trees. Where had that girl gone? Why had she been waiting? A soft glimmer caught my eye near the bank. I turned my head, and there it was again, the object beneath the water, shimmering. Cautiously, I approached the creek's edge and knelt. It was difficult to see clearly in the murky depths, but I could make out the shape, a small, silver locket. My heart raced again, not just from fear but from curiosity. Could it mean something? I dipped my hand in the chilly water, feeling the slick mud between my fingers as I groped for the locket. Grasping it tightly, I pulled it free. The tarnished metal gleamed dimly in the moonlight. I flipped it open, expecting a photo or a note, and my stomach dropped. Inside was an image of the girl from the bridge, her serene face staring back at me. Confusion gripped me. I'd never seen her before tonight. How could this locket exist? Where did you come from? I muttered to myself, the echo of the girl's calm voice still ringing in my mind. My thoughts raced along with my heart. I was being drawn into something I didn't understand, and every step felt like it brought me closer to a truth I wasn't ready to face. Suddenly, a rustling again. I spun around, locket still in hand. My pulse quickened, a twinge of dread creeping back in. Hello? I called, trying to keep the tremor out of my voice. Nothing answered. Then, from the trees stepped another figure, a man, tall and imposing, with a wide-brimmed hat that shaded his eyes. He approached slowly, and even in the darkness, I could feel the power radiating off him. My instincts screamed at me to run, but my feet felt glued to the ground. Lost, are we? He asked, his voice smooth and cold. I could barely respond. It felt like a trap setting itself around me. No, I'm his gaze didn't waver. You should be careful who you associate with down these roads, he continued, stepping closer. Things aren't always what they seem. My heart sank. The locket felt heavier in my hand. I turned to move, thinking of the opposite bank, but he was suddenly right in front of me, blocking my path. You can't just walk away, he said softly, the shadows around him shifting like living things. I took a step back, adrenaline clouding my mind. The creek's water rippled behind me, and my hands clenched around the locket. What do you want? Let's just say I'd love to find out more about who she belongs to, he said, a sly smile curling on his lips, revealing more than just intentions. And just like that, I felt the ground tremble beneath me once more, as reality warped around the edges. I had to escape. Then everything started to shift, the world around me losing its form as another realization hit me hard. I wasn't the only one who had answers to find. I didn't think, I just acted. With a surge of panic fueling my legs, I darted past him, scrambling up the creek bank like a wild animal. I stumbled on the uneven ground, sprinting blindly into the trees that loomed ahead. The shadows pressed in around me, but I pushed on, my heartbeat deafening in my ears. Branches snagged at my clothes, and I ducked under low-hanging limbs, trying to create distance from that man. His presence felt suffocating, as if the very air grew thick with danger. I had to get away. Just as I thought I was gaining ground, I heard his voice call out, smooth and calm. You're only prolonging the inevitable. I didn't look back. I couldn't. My vision narrowed to the path ahead, and the underbrush crackled under my hurried steps. Then I remembered the locket, clasped tightly in my hand. Its weight was like a reminder whatever was happening intertwined with the girl, that girl, who now didn't just seem like a stranger but as if she might somehow be a part of me. What secrets lay inside that small silver shell? As I rounded a thick oak tree, I suddenly halted, breathless. I could see the road through the clearing up ahead. The wide expanse of asphalt called to me. I'd be safer there. I made a break for it, the cool night air filling my lungs as I sprinted into the open. But as soon as I stepped onto the shoulder, reality hit again. There was no sign of life. No cars, no headlights piercing the darkness. Just stillness that mocked the chaos in my heart. I turned around, glancing back toward the trees where I'd come from. The man hadn't followed. I took a moment to steady myself, drinking in the quiet, but the safety felt fragile. I could still feel the tension in my bones. The sense that I'd barely escaped. That's when my gaze caught something glinting on the roadside, a small, battered backpack. Curiosity flickered through me. I approached cautiously, glancing around, expecting something to leap at me from the shadows. When I unzipped it, I found it half empty. A few clothes, a tangled mess of cords, and another locket just like the one I had found by the creek. My stomach dropped. I pulled it out, hands trembling. This one was tarnished and old, but it felt strangely familiar, like a piece of a puzzle I hadn't realized I was missing. Suddenly, the grating sound of tires broke through the quiet. I whipped around, heart pounding again, a moment of hope flickering within me. A car. But then dread washed over me when I recognized the silhouette behind the wheel. It was the man from the creek, his wide-brimmed hat casting a shadow over his face. The headlights illuminated his figure in stark clarity, and I froze. He smiled, the kind of smile that didn't reach his eyes. Thought you might need a ride, he said in that smooth voice. My stomach churned with uncertainty, and I took a step back, stumbling over my own feet. Just as the world seemed to close in on me again, I heard a rustling from behind me. I pivoted, expecting danger, but instead saw the girl, the one from the locket, standing at the tree line, luminous in the dim light. In stark contrast to the man, her expression held no malice. Just an urgency that seemed to resonate in my bones. Run! She mouthed silently, and I suddenly felt the weight of the world pushing me toward her. The chill of the night prickled at my skin, the impenetrable dark promising answers that felt just out of reach. That was it. That was all I needed to hear. I bolted past the man, my instincts screaming at me to follow the girl into the unknown, toward whatever truth awaited me in the shadows. I sprinted into the trees, the girl's presence still lingering in my mind as I dodged branches. Each step felt like a leap into the unknown, but I didn't stop. The sounds of the forest swallowed my footfalls, the world muted as I focused on following her. I glanced back, half expecting the man to emerge from the shadows, but there was nothing. Just the thick darkness and the soft rustle of leaves. A sigh escaped my lips, but it was cut short when I spotted her again. She stood at the edge of a clearing, her form flickering at the border of my panic. "Keep going." She seemed to insist. I pushed harder, the adrenaline coursing through me like fire. When I reached her, I gasped for breath. "Who are you? Why are you here?" She looked at me with wide, almost pleading eyes. No words came from her lips, but the urgency in her gaze told me everything. I needed to trust her. She started moving again, leading me deeper into the woods. As we ran, I spotted a faint trail illuminated by scattered moonlight. It twisted around giant trees, over gnarled roots. I followed her without hesitation, my heart still racing. Then I found it a small cabin, worn and weather-beaten, half hidden among the trees. My heart sank. It felt wrong, like a trap laid out just for us. But the girl turned to me, her face lit by the soft glow of the moon, and I could see her desperation. "Wait!" I whispered, but she slipped inside. I hesitated, peering through the cracked window. Inside, the shadows danced across the floor, and I spotted something glimmering near the fireplace. My pulse quickened. Was it another locket? The thought made me step closer, but I could also see something else, a figure moving near the back wall. "Don't trust it." I recalled the man's voice, but I couldn't see or hear her. I needed to know what was happening, so I pushed the door open just a crack. "Hello?" I whispered, the words sinking into the heavy silence. No response. The girl appeared just then, her expression shifting from fear to urgency. She motioned me to enter. Despite my instinct telling me to run, I stepped inside, the door creaking ominously behind me. As I crossed the threshold, I spotted what she had seen, an old journal sitting on the table. I reached for it, feeling drawn to its worn cover. But in that moment, the air shifted. A loud bang echoed from outside, jolting us both. I spun around to see the man standing there, his face barely visible in the night. "Thought you'd gone far enough," he said, his voice dripping with malice. Panic surged in my chest. I turned back to the girl, who looked terrified but resolute. I could feel the locket pressing against my palm, like it was urging me to make a choice. Then everything went dark. When the darkness receded, I found myself lying against the cool, damp floor of the cabin. The air was thick with silence, the world outside muted. I took a moment to gather my senses, glancing around. The girl was gone, the cabin felt empty. My breath quickened as I rose to my feet, confusion washing over me. Had it all been a dream? I couldn't dismiss the weight of the locket still in my grasp. I held it tightly, desperate for clarity. Just then, a faint sound brought my attention back to the room. I turned slowly toward the fireplace, where familiar laughter rang out, hauntingly innocent, yet tinged with sorrow. My heart raced, and I approached the sound cautiously. Peering into the fireplace, I could see, not flames, but flickering images, faces of children, long gone, their laughter echoing as if trapped within. My thoughts raced. Was this their resting place? Had I unwittingly uncovered something I shouldn't have? Suddenly, a low growl reverberated through the cabin. I spun around, aware of a growing presence behind me. The figure from before emerged from the shadows, half hidden beneath the brim of its hat. It stepped forward, its features twisted in a mockery of a smile. "You shouldn't have come," it said, voice slithering through the air like smoke. I backed against the wall, clutching the locket. "What do you want from me?" I shouted, my voice trembling. "Answers, like everyone else," it replied, leaning closer. "But you're living a choice that's been made long before your time. You'll come to understand soon." I felt the crushing weight of the moment. Choices. Echoing laughter. The girl's eyes flashed through my mind. "Where is she?" I demanded, feeling a surge of hope. "What have you done?" As if anticipating my every thought, it grinned wider, revealing jagged teeth. "She's where she always has been. Bound to this fate, as you will be." My chest tightened. Bound to what? In a moment of clarity, I realized I couldn't let it take me down this path. I pressed the locket to my heart, desperate for a connection. "I won't let you." Then, just like that, the shadows thickened around me. I squeezed my eyes shut, feeling the weight of despair rising, but I focused, calling out into the abyss, "I choose to fight." When I opened my eyes, the cabin shimmered, the laughter growing louder and clearer as I felt a surge of energy throbbing through me. It was as if the very walls were alive, the shadows shifting, twisting, becoming a doorway, a chance for escape. "Foolish girl," the figure spat, eyes narrowing. I felt the rush of power, like a pulse synchronized with my heart, urging me to take a leap. In a flash, I bolted past it, leaping toward the shimmering void where the door had been. My body hit the threshold, and the world erupted in brilliant light. When the brightness faded, I found myself standing alone on the roadside. The night was calm, yet the air crackled, as if something momentous had just shifted. The stars glimmered overhead, indifferent to my turmoil. I clutched the locket tightly, heart racing as I looked around. No cabin. No figure. Just silence, the only sound being the soft rustle of leaves above me. Had I truly escaped? I still felt the echoes of their laughter resonating within me, emotions swirling like a storm. I couldn't see the girl, but I sensed her presence lingering somewhere close, as if she were a part of me now, woven into my very being. I took a step forward, uncertain of where to go but determined to uncover the meaning behind all I had seen. The road ahead felt familiar yet daunting, a path that invited more questions than answers. Did I truly escape, or had I merely become a part of their story? The night remained quiet, but the shadows behind me watched as I walked on, leaving only an echo of haunted laughter behind the whispers of mysteries yet to unravel. With each step, I felt the weight of a choice linger in the air, alive and heavy, as if the unfolding story was not just mine to tell, but part of something much deeper than I understood. I couldn't shake the feeling this wasn't over. I might have escaped the barn, the man, the darkness, but the haunting pull of the girl remained, nudging me toward truths yet to reveal themselves. "Until we meet again," I murmured into the night, a silent promise to the girl who had drawn me into this strange journey. I may have escaped the immediate danger, but I sensed that the threads of our fates were still intertwined, ready to pull me back into their mystery when the time came. As I walked onward, I couldn't help but feel the weight of the unknown trailing behind me, whispering tales of shadows and untold stories that awaited discovery in the heart of the night.